Alright, let's pick back up on Arcadia TV. Last episodes we went through Chapter 1 and Chapter 2. Now we're going to watch the most recent two videos, Paid Programming and then Monsters. But after we watch these two videos, I'm going to try to make a cohesive timeline and explain this whole story from them researching in a lab all the way to the monsters breaking through and wreaking havoc on the world. So let's go ahead and get into Paid Programming. Alright. Late Night up next. We got Midnight Safety Guide, episode 27, and then False Dogs. Curfew to more cities across the state of Alaska. Worries grow as the president something. Always remember to lock your doors and windows at night. I feel like that might come into play eventually. Just trying to see if there's any.
Changing. In a dark forest.
Oh.
We lit the fire. We are no longer alone.
I gotta pause real quick. I'm sorry to break the immersion. This is a beautiful intro, but I love how much it's leaning into the dark forest theory, saying that we're now in the middle of a dark forest and we lit a fire.
Consuming.
I love this approach this is taking with the whole dark forest theory. I really can't get enough of it. I eat that shit up like it's cake on my birthday.
Do not fight. Do not run. They are the endless.
I'm curious who this is saying this.
Your God will not protect you.
I wonder if it's one of the doctors. One of the researchers. Potentially. Okay, so now I've already watched this video, so this is there's two different storylines being cut together. The first monologue we heard, and then this.
They are outside. Waiting.
Ooh.
Do not resist. Let them in.
It's trying to make us give in to the monsters.
They cannot be stopped.
I'm racking my brain. Is it
This is not your world anymore.
maybe the doctor that made the connection?
You are no longer in control.
I guess that is true. I mean, they are taking over the world.
Hello? I have a problem. There's something in my house.
Oof.
Every night it returns around the same time.
Sounds like a creepypasta intro.
I called the Anomalous Awareness Association, and they do not recognize this entity.
I thought that was really interesting on the first watch through the AAA, the Anomalous Awareness Association. It's like a hotline or whatever they have set up now after all these events have transpired in Alaska, causing all this mayhem and whatnot, that they have an actual organization set up to give people advice and help them when they're encountering these entities and these monsters. But for whatever reason, the one at his home, they don't recognize it.
They do not recognize this entity, and that you must vacate the area immediately. They told me to abandon my home. I can't do that. This is my home.
That is a haunting
and
situation
I'm
to be
not
in.
leaving it. You see this?
Yes, sir. I
This
see it
is
all
what I'm
right.
going to use to kill it.
The old 12 gauge special. Buckshot.
Do you see it?
Better be buckshot. It's
It
duckshot
watches
name.
all of us.
They're birdshot. Do you see it? The moon.
That is your God now.
I'm assuming that they're not talking about the moon from the implications here, zooming in on that little dot.
A real God.
A real god. I love this. I love this part.
True God.
This is probably my favorite part of the whole series.
Are you afraid? Do not cry. Your gods never listen to you.
See, it's peddling this anti-religion thing, making it seem like there's only one God, your gods aren't real. And also, what is that? Is that like another planet? Is that the entity itself? Is that one of the eyeballs appearing, like peering through the abyss? So many questions. I know obviously it's not gonna answer them right now, but
They were never real.
they were never real. A good series always raises good questions. And then the payoffs when it answers them at the end.
The Canadian Prime Minister said, quote, "If the U.S. continues to ignore the issue and doesn't secure the borders of Alaska, we will have no choice but to defend our nation."
Ooh.
The White House has yet to comment on the statements made.
That's something I'm picking up right now, is that the talking on the TV there about like Canadian-U.S. conflict on the border of Alaska. That's something I didn't even think of, like the political issues. I have the sun blasting in my window. I can't really see my screen too well. Uh-oh. I see something. Is that a hand? That's a hand. There's a body. There's a head. There's the shotgun. Blow him away. Pow.
Oh, shit!
That's such a cool scene. Such a cool scene. I'm gonna rewind it real quick. There it is, baby. That's like the first actual solid look that we've got at a monster this entire time, which looks to be the same monster that we've seen in the mythical creatures video, the one that was like stalking through, like stalking the bedroom door, which kind of makes me think, like, are there other monsters? Are there other entities? Well, Buddy didn't have to leave his home. He'll stay there for the rest of eternity.
Here.
Got some real "don't hug me, I'm scared" vibes.
We have a question from Sarah.
Sarah.
Sarah asks, do you believe in God?
just taking a second to think about seeing that on a kid show's wild.
You
Ugh.
seem to have a visitor. Come on in. The door is unlocked.
The door is unlocked. Well, you seen the beginning of the broadcast said lock your doors. Clearly, this guy didn't listen. What the hell even is this? First off, why is there a creature? Why is there like a Muppet? But also, I think this also relates back to the mythical creatures entry, because if you'll remember from that video, the way that the creature that tries to get your attention, it'll like knock on the doors, make noises, say names or whatever, and you got to ignore it. He's not ignoring it. Yep, the door's open now, buddy. And that is the end of paid programming. Stellar video. I mean, the videos just keep ramping up in quality, so let's go ahead and get into monsters without any further ado. Archival copy. Anomalous Awareness Association. Case 1903. Monsters. Alright, so we're in 1993 now. Which, if I'm recalling correctly, ooh, is that someone outside of a house? But if I recall correctly, 1993 would be the most recent log, most recent date in all these events. Because I know 89, like in the late 80s is when it started. 1993, numerous people went missing in the town of blank. The majority of those were homeless. Got a homeless kidnapper here. A serial homeless kidnapper. So is that supposed to be a homeless person? What you were seeing a minute ago? An investigation led authorities to a home for the first time. What is that supposed to mean? The Anomalous Awareness Association was dispatched to the contiguous United States for an organic threat. Employee Ian Parker, Elite Bravo. So in 76, error 77, available in 78, 80, and 83. Ian Parker plays a big role in all of this stuff. So they're opening the 78.
1978.
Yeah. So we're going back a bit in time.
State your name and date of birth.
Wait.
Ian Parker.
So this person's listening while driving in 1993. They're listening to a tape from 78 of Ian Parker. Okay.
1958.
We will continue where we left off. Yesterday I asked, what are you most afraid of? You seemed uncomfortable with that question.
Yeah, because he knows the true horrors.
I don't like to think about the past.
I think he's afraid of what he knows could happen with this project they're
I
working
saw
on.
something when I was young. I still have nightmares.
Ooh, what is the picture? Someone didn't want their Polaroid taken. Prey? Or is this a picture that a monster took while eating someone? Oh, I think it is. So we got prey, her. Feed. So the prey is humans that it feeds on, maybe. There are hundreds of photos scattered throughout the home. Oh. So this is all revolving... Okay, so maybe that was a homeless person? Each photo had a single word or phrase written on the back. Weak. Oh, so yeah, this is revolving around the homeless people, or the people that were being abducted in this town. You had a strange symbol sketched on them. Now, what could that mean? Okay. Subject, Ian Parker. I've noticed that most of Ian Parker's employee files on the archival terminal are corrupted. I'm working on a time-sensitive report that requires these files. Could this be addressed as soon as possible? So we got a new person, Elizabeth. It's a new name.
What did you see?
Yeah, Ian, what did you see?
I was 11 years old when I went hunting with my father. He always forced me to go with him.
That's the weak picture we're looking at.
Camp for the night. He went to sleep. I stayed up so I can read my favorite book, Theory of the Parallel by John Walker.
John Walker.
I had to piss in the middle of the night.
Oh. It's moving.
I was scared of the dark.
Okay, hold on. There's so much going on right now. So John Walker, he read the book from John Walker. So John Walker's been working on this project for presumably his whole professional career, maybe his whole life. And then eventually Ian, being so enthralled with his subject, ends up working in the same company on the same project as Dr. John Walker, I believe, right? And this is all linking together, how Ian says he's scared of the dark. We're in the dark forest now. We lit the light.
Alone.
I don't know why that dude, that dead dude or whatever, is moving his hand.
I was more afraid of waking him up. So
It's okay. Go ahead.
Is this Elizabeth interviewing him?
I grabbed the flashlight from my bag, and I left the tent. It was cold and dark outside. I could see my breath in the air.
Oh,
I walked over.
we're
to the
seeing
tree.
we're seeing actual footage of the pictures from the Polaroids it showed that were in this home. The hundreds of Polaroids.
I placed the flashlight on the
We're
ground.
seeing the
next to me.
scenes.
Then I heard something. I was so scared. I froze. I didn't know where it was coming from. It sounded like it was getting closer. Then I saw it. I didn't know what it was. It made a horrible noise. It looked like a dead dog.
Skinwalker?
The skin on its face was missing. Strips of flesh were hanging off of it.
Oh, there it is.
I
That is so creepy.
was so afraid.
Wait now. A journal was found within the home. So, Ian Parker had an encounter in the 70s with a monster. I'm assuming that there's a correlation that maybe these are like implied to be the same monsters, the ones that are coming from these parallel universes now, and the one that Ian seen when he was younger, and the one that's feeding on these people in the Polaroids. A journal. Is that the same logo that was etched on some of the pictures? Journal contained unintelligible writings and sketches. Only a few scattered entries have been deciphered. Or is this creature like John Walker? February 3rd, she was my only friend, the only person I cared for. Why? Why did I do it? Why did I listen to it? How did it know her name? February 17th, the air is thick with the smell of decay. My eyes burn when it speaks. It tells me strange stories. It requests for more. Got a hacksaw. The constant feeding, the unending hunger. It only wants those it has chosen. When will it be enough? So whatever this is, it's manipulating the mind. It no longer speaks, but I still hear its voice. The pain in my head is getting worse. My nose and ears bleed frequently. What is happening to me? It has shown me the future. It will awaken. I must prepare. Okay. It knows I have been feeding on them as well. It wants me to come closer. Come to the abyss, maybe? Okay. Thank you for notifying of us of this issue due to the recent restructuring. Those files now require higher clearance. Therefore, we have revoked your access to all archival files related to Site Bravo. We appreciate your understanding. And that was in 1993. So they're trying to get information on the Bravo explosion, which happened when they connected parallel universes for the first time.
I told him what I saw. He didn't believe me. He said it was all in my head. Well, later on, you have to go do something.
So this is more footage of the crime scene.
Sometime later, he told me he saw what I was talking about. He said it was someone's dog that must have gotten lost. He killed it to put it out of its misery. He never let me talk about that day ever again.
I don't really know what to
After
think.
in Parkland's history, I do have one concern.
Oh,
His strong fear of dogs.
a lot of crosses. Death?
This may be inconsequential, but this could lead to problems in the future.
Leave
I will
light
bring it up
on.
again next time at the yearly psych eval.
Okay.
We can't have someone who is unable to handle difficult situations.
So that...
But John Walker personally requested Ian for this position.
See... Hold on.
We've been talking to each other a lot recently. Ian must have captured his attention with his quick rise in this company. I'm going to reluctantly approve his psych eval. This is the last step in his promotion process. He will now be the head of safety and ethics.
Okay. So that was his psych eval for the promotion. So this is all happening after the big explosion and stuff though, right? Because this is 93. Various blood samples were collected throughout the home. And that's a picture of someone in a hazmat suit. All of the blood samples contained high amounts of blank. Semen? Sorry. A key symptom of organic traversal. Within a broken wall of the basement, a car Sorry, move. This was the first documented encounter of the substance. So we got some interdimensional goo in the basement. It was a distilled form of blank. The perpetrator and entity were never found. Ooh. The substance was collected for future use. Our fears have been confirmed. It is one of the lesser forms. Lesser forms of what? What fears have been confirmed? That it eats cinder blocks? I like a good cinder block. Put some salt on there. Slather that thing up. Good eating. Whoa, whoa, whoa. I wasn't even paying attention. It's a creature. It is a different creature than the one we saw, I think. This looks bigger and more rat-like. Ooh. Yeah, it does look like a different creature. Different head thing going on. The arms are still long and lanky, though.
Why?
Newspaper?
I didn't speak up sooner. I could have stopped all of this.
Killed in car crash.
They removed me from the head of safety and ethics.
Oh, John Walker died in the car crash.
I told them that it was too dangerous.
Is that 83?
We should connect our worlds. They disagreed. They see it differently. They believe I am preventing progress. John Walker convinced the board to remove me. The one person I looked up to. The one fucking person.
Oh, wait. Dr. John Walker didn't die in this car crash. His daughter and his wife did.
The one fucking person. They stationed me away from the lab.
Alright, so now he's in a fire lookout.
In a fire lookout tower. It overlooks the lab in the valley. They say it's temporary, but... Oh! After all these years, all my hard work, everything I worked for.
And that's the end. We end off with Ian Parker being demoted, being shipped off, stationed in a fire lookout, basically being like, buddy, you done goofed. We don't want you here anymore. Everything is kind of coming full circle, though, with the whole God setup, because Deep Sea Live was the first ever video, and it does, you know, conclude by saying that God is under the water there with them. But yeah, give me a minute to collect my thoughts here and fix my camera a little bit, and I'll write some stuff down on the board and try to take you through the whole timeline, and that'll be the video. Okay, the board has been concocted up once again with free manual labor from my girlfriend. So this is the timeline of Arcadia, condensed, and most of it is going to be just spouted off, the ramblings of a lunatic style, from this little noggin right here. So we're going to start with the oldest known occurrence in the Arcadia universe, which was in 1978 when Ian Parker was 11 years old and went hunting with his dad. It was the middle of the night, it was dark, he was scared to wake up his dad because he had to go, had to go to the bathroom. I don't really remember that detail, but he went out of the tent, heard some weird guttural, strange, monsterish noises, and reported seeing what looked like a dead dog that had flesh just like melting off of it. I don't know if I'm speculating when I'm assuming that maybe this could be one and the same as one of the monsters that we see later in the series, but that would happen before the parallel universes connected. So that really wouldn't make sense unless they somehow were here before or somehow have always been here, and this crossover just made things more imminent of a threat. Then that takes us to the start of the series with 1980 through 1983, which was when the research site Bravo experiments happened. And I don't have the exact dates written down here, but I believe it was 1981 when they first established connection with another universe. They received another signal, and then it was 1983 when the wrong connection was made. They were trying to connect with the nice universe and ended up connecting with the evil one that just wanted to take over. The predator in the dark forest, if you will. Which that then takes us to soon before Christmas of that same year, when the explosion at the research site Bravo happened, which released pandemonium and chaos into the world that led to the emergency broadcast system and the subsequent closing off, locking off northern Alaska, and then eventually the wall that they built to northern Alaska, not letting anybody in there. And now for Deep Sea Live, there's not a definitive date here. This is just me speculating from the things that have happened in the series. I believe Deep Sea Live is one of the first things that happens after they close off Alaska and whatnot. It's one of the first encounters, one of the first known encounters that we have with the creatures that crossed over between the parallel universes. Because it has a very similar undertone as the other things we see in the series. For example, the common reoccurrence of this god figure. This is the first time we see this god figure depicted, and it's something that pops up multiple times after that. Then that takes us to 1983-ish. There's also not a definitive date here. I'm doing a lot of speculating, a lot of brain blasting here, but that's when the Exclusion Zone Safety All About Fissures comes out. And that would make sense that the Exclusion Zone Safety training video would come out a little bit after, not too long. Actually, maybe it might be 1984. Yeah, let's correct that and say 1984, because this happened in 1983, December, is when the connection was made, and then, like, the monsters crossed over, the connection to the parallel universe was made, and northern Alaska became a no-fly zone. So I'm going to say a little bit after 1983. Between 1984 to 1985, maybe 1986 is probably when this Exclusion Zone Safety came out, because it had to have came out after they built the wall, and it would have been training videos for anyone going into this exclusion zone. So it would have had to have came out pretty soon after, because they were going to be exploring that as soon as they could to figure out what's going on. And then what has to be my favorite video from this whole series, the Crying Cave incident, happened on July 18th, 1988. It's when we see the missing poster of the 3 teenagers who went missing, but they were never actually missing. 2 of the teenagers were at home, safe and sound with their families, nothing off at all. And the third one, the dude never even existed. Which brings me into my theory and my hypothesis that he somehow crossed over from the parallel universe Crying Cave, somehow came to this one, a world where he never existed, and then fell out of the sky to where he once again no longer existed. Then we go to 1992, Mythical Creatures. At first I didn't think this had a date, but after, there's like a 1 or 2 frame period in the video where the screen glitches and it has a date on the screen. I didn't write down the month, but the year is 1992. So I was correct in assuming that Mythical Creatures, although it was like the second video in the series, it happens way later, because there already is an establishment of knowing about these creatures and how to deal with them and some of the things that they do, like trying to get your attention, offering gifts, and just overall being very hostile and threatening to you. And then a few months after Mythical Creatures is when The Farm happens, October 1992, which is when they send Dr. Ian into the Farm video game with this technology where they kind of hook you up to the the cybernet, and then he enters into this game and talks to one of the entities that turns out to be Dr. John Walker. I think that's his name, right? John Walker? Yeah, John Walker. The guy who Ian, that we find out later on, looks up to, idolizes, and is really the only reason that Dr. Ian is working in the position that he is as the head of a department in the AAA. Farm's a really good video, though. The Farm is a very good video, especially that ending when you get the reveal about he knows who he is. He's the one who made the connection and all that. That was a good speech right there. And then that takes us to the two videos we covered in this video: paid programming and monsters. Paid programming, I believe, happens first in September of 1992-ish, because there's not a specific date on the video. But paid programming is it's a really solid video. It's where we get two different narratives and then a third bonus one at the end about that little puppet thing. But the first narrative is about this, I don't know who the narrator is, maybe one of the entities, talking about how religions aren't real. Your God isn't going to save you because the real God is here now. And then it zooms in on the moon at one point, which we've seen this clip before, but it wasn't really of great distinction. But now it's zooming in, specifically focusing on a little smaller dot beside the moon, maybe farther away, maybe another planet, maybe an entity of some sorts. God, apparently, because it zooms in on it and says, a true God. So it's clearly some Lovecraftian influence. I almost said Lovecraftian influence. Some greater existential threat to this world now that they've connected parallel universes. They're in the dark forest. They lit the fire, and now a true God is coming to take over the world. And that's why all the other worlds were quiet. They all showed up on the map, but they didn't reach out because they knew the consequences of their actions of trying to connect with universes that this entity, this other universe, would find out and do what they're doing right now. But then the second narrative we get is it's a really cool one. It's this dude in his house, and he says he calls the anomalous something authority. It's AAA is what it stands for, and they told him that they can't do anything for him, even though he said that there's been this entity, this creature that has been like stalking him, hanging around his house and whatnot for the past few nights. But they said they can't help him because it's not a recognized entity. And they recommended for him to evacuate and leave his house ASAP. Which he is one of those people that he'd let them build the highway around his house, because he says he ain't leaving. And then he pulls out a shotgun showing what his plan is, that he's going to shoot this monster when it comes back tonight. And lo and behold, the monster does come back. Kind of strikes a similar... It's a similar appearance monster from the still frame that we get, if you remember from earlier. It looks very similar to the mythical creatures monster that's peeking around the door. I don't know if there's any correlation there, but out of the few entities, we've only seen an entity in like 3 separate occasions in full view, and it looks similar, very similar to the mythical creatures creature. But needless to say, the shotgun doesn't end up working. The dude, he gets mauled. The creature gets him. And then that cuts to what I think is kind of out of place. I'm trying to figure out how it fits in. You can see on the board, I have it pulled up on the screen right now. I'm going to full screen it. You can see on the board behind this little like 3D animated character of this show or whatever it is on the Arcadia TV channel, there is a moon and then the smaller thing beside it, which we then get another similarity to mythical creatures when the like knocking starts happening on the door, and then for some reason the door's unlocked, and the little purple dude says, "Come on in, the door's unlocked. Looks like we have a visitor," which is not what you're supposed to do. If you recall the rules from mythical creatures, you don't speak to it. That's like the number one rule. You don't acknowledge it. But then that takes us to Monsters, which is the most recent upload as of me recording this. And, it happens in February of 1993. We find out that there has been a lot of disappearances recently in this unnamed town, mostly homeless people, and then they make the grisly discovery of a bunch of corpses and a bunch of Polaroids of what was done to these corpses in a house. Gruesome things. And then it also goes in and shows you the actual scenes of these Polaroids throughout the video. And it's really gruesome and gory stuff. There's words on the back of the Polaroids, as well as a symbol that I'm not sure what they mean. I haven't pieced that puzzle together yet. I don't think there is a puzzle to piece together in that department yet. But there's a Polaroid that says like the girl, and then there's one that says weak, and then there's one with a symbol on it. And it's also in this same video where we get the backstory of what I led the video off with, the events of 1978 when Ian Parker was 11, and talking about what his biggest fear is, that being his biggest fear, the dead dog creature he seen in the woods that night. Which leads to us getting a bit more Dr. Ian lore, saying how he rose up to be like the head of a department because Dr. John Walker specifically recommended him to get hired at this company. And the only reason he got promoted because his sake vows were saying that he was unstable and whatnot. But then at the end of this, after we find out information about John Walker and his daughter and wife died in a car crash. I'm assuming his ex-wife. That happened in 1983 though, right around the same time in early December of 1983, right around the time that the connection with this parallel universe was made, which makes me think that event could have been what happened, could have been his villain origin story as to him becoming the entity that we hear at the end of the farm. But regardless, the last little bit of info we find out at the end of this is that Dr. Ian has now been stationed at a fire lookout temporarily, but permanently probably, overlooking a research base. He's been demoted, taken out of the loop really, and set off to the side. And that really is where we're left off at. I wish I had some good theories, but I don't really have any plausible things that could be going on. I don't know if I can really speculate as to where the series is going. Obviously, there's going to be more of this God character coming in. There's too much talk and hubbub around it for it not to happen. More creature appearances, maybe some more disturbing deaths revolving around creatures. But this is all obvious stuff. Not really any like groundbreaking theories. I think everything's going to come to a close before 2000 or right on the year 2000, if I had to guess. I know the creator I've seen that they said they know how they want the story to end, but there's no like end date in sight or anything. I don't know when that's going to happen. But yeah, that's, as of right now, this is going to be the last Arcadia video until some new stuff comes out. And catch you in the next one.